If I were to give advice on 3 tips that I would recommend to somebody that's looking to purchase a house to flip it to kind of help reduce your risk, first and foremost would be make sure that you do your due diligence, not just on the house itself, but more importantly, 1, make sure that you're very comfortable with the market that you're purchasing in. So if you're not familiar with the Tampa market, but you're looking to invest here and flip a house, make sure that you're comfortable with understanding kind of how healthy the Tampa market is, where it's going, what kind of the trajectory of it is. And even simplifying that down even more is looking more specifically on the neighborhood that you're buying in. So understanding how long things are sitting on the market after they're renovated, because ultimately, especially when you're flipping houses, most of the time you have a hard money loan or a private loan, which tends to have high interest. So if you're not aware or you're not making sure that you understand kind of how long things are sitting on the market after you renovate it, those interests can add up a ton, and it really eats away at kind of what you could have expected your profit to be. Because if you end up paying, say, $3,500 a month on your interest loan, that easily adds up month over month with the house sitting on the market for, say, 90 to 120 days, whatever it might be. So making sure that 1, you're aware and comfortable with the market that you're purchasing in and the neighborhood that you're purchasing in, as well as making sure, like, a lot of things can sometimes happen when you flip a house. What if you end up not being able to sell it or something? If you have to end up holding on to that property, you want to make sure that, 1, it's a good neighborhood to be in, that you'd be okay with holding that property in, and that the rental values, all that kind of stuff is important in knowing. So understand the market in the whole that you're buying in, and then kind of transitioning specifically to the house, make sure that you understand what it's going to take to get it where you need it. So if you're not familiar or yet to that point where you understand kind of construction costs and what you can expect, make sure that you have your contractor there to walk you through things, to take a look at the project and give you a number, what it's going to cost you to get it where you need it to be, to kind of match those comps around the neighborhood with the condition that they're in to get the value that you need for it. So first off, make sure that you do your due diligence on the market itself and the actual house itself, so that you're not surprised with any unexpected things that you weren't anticipating, although that's always going to happen and things do pop up. You want to make sure that going into the deal that you're very comfortable with it up front. So first off, do your due diligence on the market itself and the property itself. Tip number 2 that I would recommend is make sure that you get in and out of the project as quickly as possible. It's super important when you're flipping a house to get in and to get out, because 1, this is going to reduce your holding costs. Like I kind of previously mentioned, with hard money, you have very high interest. So if you can get in and out of the deal quicker, it's going to reduce what you're paying on the interest for the loan, along with utility costs, any holding costs. If it happens to be in an association with an HOA, you're going to reduce that. So ultimately, it's going to help reduce what you're paying on your soft costs throughout the renovation project. And ultimately, that's going to save you more money and help you profit more in the end of the deal. Along with that is it's going to help you avoid kind of market fluctuations. So if you have a project for a long time, say 6 months or 7, 8, as it gets longer and longer, markets shift obviously. So if you can get in and out quicker, it's going to help you avoid kind of going through those market transitions. So the markets, typically you don't see too much fluctuation within like a 3-4 month time period, but as that gets longer, things can happen to the market, which in turn, if it goes downward, there goes your profit basically. So it's important, get in and out of the deal as quickly as possible, but at the same time, make sure that you're maintaining a level of quality in the product that you're producing. And last but not least, the 3rd tip that I would recommend to help reduce your risk when buying a flip is to make sure before going into the deal that you have another exit strategy. So whether that be making sure that you look at rental rates, at what the property would rent for fully renovated after you finish the project, make sure that if you refinance out of the hard money loan, which typically that's what you're going to do, say you end up not being able to sell the property or something for whatever the reason might be, you need to make sure that you have another exit strategy going into the deal. So whether it's a long-term rental, an Airbnb, depending on the market, and if it's in a good location for Airbnb, make sure that you have another option, because ultimately, I always do this when I'm buying properties, is I'm gonna look at the deal. If it makes sense for a flip, fantastic, I want it. Then I'm gonna say, okay, now what? If I end up not being able to sell it, can I rent it for more than what my mortgage would be when I refinance out? And typically when you're trying to refinance out, you have a 6-month seasoning period. So you're gonna have to have that hard money loan for 6 months, which is fine. That gives you the time to renovate the project, bring it up to what you would sell it for, the ARV of what it could be. And then basically it turns into what's called a BRRRR deal, which is buy, rehab, rent, refinance. So you rehab the project, you place a tenant in the project, and then you refinance out after that 6-month period. But it's extremely important to make sure ahead of time that when you go to refinance, you're gonna be refinancing out at a higher amount, obviously, than what you have on the hard money loan, because you're trying to get your cash back out of the deal. And then once you get that new mortgage on a 30-year term, you wanna make sure that the tenant that you place in there, that what they're paying for rent is gonna cover more than what you're gonna be paying on the mortgage, basically, because ultimately that's why we buy properties, right? We want a cash flow, we wanna have additional income coming in from that property versus what we're paying on the mortgage. So that is my last tip, very important. Make sure that you have another exit strategy, whether it's long-term or short-term rental. Look at Airbnb rates, what they're going for. There's estimators out there I've posted on a previous video of mine that you can use to kind of look and see what the property in its location with its amenities could rent for and what it could generate on a monthly basis. And then that can kind of help you decide what the best option is if you end up not being able to sell the deal. So boom, that's my 3 tips to help reduce your risk when you're going to buy an investment property. I hope that's helpful. My name is Tatum. I will check you guys out on the next video, and like, subscribe, share the video.